is Shae Spitz with Business Unscripted, and I am here with Vanessa with Keep Columbus Beautiful. Hey, hello there, Vanessa. How are you?
Hi, I'm good.
Good. Thank you for being here. So tell me a little bit about what you do in the community, how you got started, and why you keep going.
Yeah, well, thanks for having me, first off. And so I am with Keep Columbus Beautiful, as you stated. I've been with that organization for about 12 years now in May, so quite a long time with Keep Columbus Beautiful.
Yeah.
How I got started was actually really kind of off the wall and kind of new. So I had seen a posting on Facebook that they were hiring for an executive director. And I had been, a resident before and had called in to Keep Columbus Beautiful asking questions about, various recycling things. I was actually trying to figure out how to get rid of a spiral light bulb, one of those CFLs.
Yeah.
And so I called there and I talked to the old director, and she just, kind of told me about recycling and what that program looked like at that time. And so I always thought it was kind of interesting that there was an organization like that here in town. And I got to learn all about what they do. And so I responded to the Facebook ad and I sent in my resume, and sure enough, they called me for an interview.
That's awesome.
I got to eavesdrop on a couple of other interviews before me, and the surprising thing was not a lot of people had been recycling.
Yeah.
So I was one of the few candidates that actually had, a recycling, not a program, but I had recycling like in my garage, and it was organized. And so they liked that. I did a couple of other various large scale events on my own for the community. And so they liked that I had that experience as well. And so lo and behold, they hired me.
Well, and honestly, recycling is it's kind of a different realm, because if you're not familiar with it or know how to do it or know what to recycle with what, it honestly gets pretty confusing. So
it can be really confusing. There's a lot of wishful recycling as well. Like, oh, well, I think that this is recyclable. It's a type of plastic. Let me throw it in with the rest of the plastics. And then, people don't realize that actually contaminates the recycling. And so there's so many little rules, and recycling is different everywhere across the country. So what is acceptable at some stations and some centers isn't acceptable at others.
Well, I've always thought it was interesting when you go, let's say like the zoo. I think the zoo has recyclables and then trash. How do they go through? Because I'm sure people are throwing the wrong stuff in the wrong recycle bin. I mean, so do people have to filter through that recycle bag to make sure that it's all the right stuff?
Yeah, so like I had mentioned, it's different in every single location as far as recycling. One thing that is certain in a recycling program, there is almost always going to be contamination, like you're talking about. So, it varies depending on what facility, you're utilizing. So like with the zoo and how they have different containers for different products, the zoo is a lot larger, and so they might be able to handle a little bit of a contamination rate. And so I don't know that their employees necessarily go through every single bag or every bin to pull out the stuff that isn't supposed to be in there. But if it's something large and then they can just pick out, I'm sure that they do. But that's kind of an issue with recycling is the contamination, because a lot of products, like I talked about the wishful recycling, they don't belong in there. And so somewhere down the line in the recycling process, somebody does have to pull that item, or it does get mechanically sorted out.
Really? Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
There's a very large facility in Omaha. It's called First Star Fiber. That's where our recycled goods actually go in the end market. And so they have mechanical equipment that kind of has like an eye, and so it sorts various plastics by where it's supposed to go. And it takes out all the things that it's not supposed to, other than like plastic bags. Plastic bags are like every recycler's nightmare.
Yeah.
They get
really? So they don't want they don't want plastic bags?
Well, not necessarily in like your normal day-to-day recycling. Just because it gets tangled up in the equipment that a lot of the recycling haulers use. It's very flimsy, but it's also pretty strong.
Yeah.
If it can hold your gallon of milk, it's gonna have some strength to it. And so when it gets tangled up in equipment, it's really just a nightmare. And then people have to take time to go in there, cut it out, and remove the plastic from whatever machinery it's stuck on.
Yeah. So since you started 12 years ago, I mean, how has the recycling or keeping Columbus beautiful, because they had this organization 12 years ago, I'm assuming, or how long has the organization been?
Yeah, so Keep Columbus Beautiful has actually been around for 38 years.
Okay.
So it was formed here at in 1984.
Okay.
Still has some of the founding members on the board.
Oh, that's awesome.
But so yeah, they've done various different things throughout Keep Columbus Beautiful's time. At one point, it was a city-run recycling facility.
Okay.
Then it went to private business, and then it was subsidized. Then it kind of just went away for a while because there wasn't a whole lot of options. That was in like 2017, early 2018.
Okay.
We definitely had lots of talks with various groups and whatnot to see how we can get recycling back in the community. And so we wrote a grant in 2019 for 2020 to bring back recycling, and the pandemic hit and changed so many of our plans. So we didn't get a whole lot implemented until the end of 2020. I would say like October, November.
Okay.
We had hired a recycling coordinator to help us get recycling going back in the community, and so we wrote another grant to purchase some recycling trailers to leave out in the community, so residents can have an option for just like drop off recycling for mainly plastics.
Okay.
So all the plastics 1 through 7, and then just one compartment for metals like the aluminum, steel, and tin.
Yep.
Just because we didn't need any fibers in there like papers, because Green Fiber does a great job here locally of providing bins all throughout the community. So there was no point in us trying to take something that is already recyclable somewhere else.
Yeah.
And so that was, we had that running the early part of 2021.
Okay.
And it was going really well. We collected a lot of material, had some contamination, had to move a couple of locations, but you know, we're going to get that restarted again here next Monday on the 13th.
Woohoo!
So we'll have recycling back in the community. Those 2 orange trailers will be back out for residents to utilize, so they can recycle their plastics.
Yep.
Plastic is a majority of what people have in their home. You know, there's lots of water bottles, drink containers, even, you know, like cottage cheese, things like that. All of those containers can, you know, they take up a lot of space, and it's great that they're going to be able to be recycled again here shortly.
Yeah. So is it going to be like once a month, once a week, or is it going to be every day?
Yeah. So people can use them every day. The 2 locations for those recycling trailers will be on Howard Boulevard at the Mike Griner's Furniture Warehouse.
Yep.
And then also north of 30 Center Mall, so kind of right there behind the movie theater.
Oh, okay.
Those are the 2 permanent locations for the recycling trailers.
Yep.
And residents can use them at any time, really.
Okay.
The only time that they're not there is when they're being emptied and serviced.
Yep.
So then they're only gone for like a couple of hours, so they can get weighed and unloaded and then brought back to the regular location.
Yeah. So then does it say like what can be recycled, what people can and cannot do? I'm sure you're still going to have contamination, of course, but somebody who's not familiar with recycling, I mean, when they go to recycle, they might think, okay, well, I can do paper, plastic, cardboard. I mean, so does it tell you on there what you can and cannot put in there?
Yeah. So the trailers have 6 different compartments on each trailer. And so each compartment is kind of labeled with what type of plastic it is, and then it has like a decal of what the container is that it's accepting.
Okay, okay. Now tell us, or tell me, and anybody listening, what the importance is of recycling. Why is it so important to recycle?
Yeah, well, you know, we have one planet so far. You know, they haven't quite figured out Mars yet.
Yes.
But so we're stuck here on Earth, and we really need to do a better job of taking care of it. You know, it's always been reduce, reuse, recycle, with that important message of reduce first. But if you cannot, and, you know, you have to recycle something, that's the best option. So it can be repurposed into something else, using the same materials. With everything changing, they talk about climate change and just our natural resources in general being somewhat depleted, and not being replenished in time. We really have to look at what we're utilizing these goods for, and so it's nice to be able to repurpose them and reuse them for something.
Because if they're not being recycled, where do they go?
They go in the landfill, and then you just eventually run out of landfill space.
Yeah.
We're lucky here in the Midwest. We have a lot of area.
Yeah.
But some of those other states, they don't have that same option. And so they pay a lot in tipping fees and landfill fees. So,
yeah, I mean, what do you do when you run out of landfill? Honestly, like I've always thought about that. You have these huge, at some point in time, they got to be full.
Yeah.
And
it does happen. They do close. There's a few in Nebraska that are going to eventually be full in the near future. And so then, communities as a whole have to look into a different region to go take their trash to.
Yeah.
And so something that used to go, just 25 miles away, now it has to be taken 50 miles away or even further. And so ultimately it just costs people more in the long run.
What do you think is the biggest hinder of people recycling?
I would say here locally, it has just been, getting a sustainable program going. Clearly with the 2 recycling trailers, it's minimal at best for a community of our size. Luckily we do have Ace Sanitation who's now providing the curbside recycling program. Yeah, they're kind of new, but they do the curbside program no different than like your normal everyday garbage, but it's for your recycling. So you do have to pay for that service. But people can call and get all the details from them. It's kind of nice because you can just put everything in the same container, put it on your curbside on a certain day. They come pick it up. So that one is very convenient. With our recycling program, the most frequent comments that we receive is, I went there and it was full, so I couldn't leave my stuff, because we encourage residents not to kind of pile things right outside of the of the containers as well. Here where we have a lot of wind.
Yes.
And so, it gets blown away and then it's littered. And so we really don't want that. But that's one of the biggest complaints is that, they're full frequently. We do empty them every other day. But still, they are full quite often.
Crazy. Well, that's a good thing. I mean, that's a good problem to have.
Yeah.
But then that also just shows that there is a huge need. And I think just informing people on how to recycle, why it's important, and not being wasteful is the biggest thing. Because going back to convenience, people, it's convenient to just throw away your container and not have to recycle it and then drag it into town. And especially people who live out of town. I live in the country, so for me to throw it all into one thing and then have to load it up, take it into town, it does get pretty inconvenient. So if there's a business that offers that curbside recycling, that's fantastic. And you said it was
Ace Sanitation.
Okay. Okay. Yeah, you pay for garbage anyway, so might as well pay for to recycle your items.
Definitely. For their normal trash customers, it's only $16 a month. And so, really, when let's say you live out of town and you're driving your recycled goods into town, you have to go check to make sure the trailer's empty or has space for your items. And if not, then you have to take them back. And so,
and gas
fuel is not cheap right now. So really, it's $4 a week, and that's a gallon of gas. So you may spend that time just driving around trying to find an outlet for your recycled goods.
Yeah. So tell me a little bit more. So obviously recycling is a big thing that you focus on. What else do you do with keeping Columbus beautiful?
Yeah, so we do a lot of educational programs as well. We do like Earth Day activities, America Recycles Day. We partner up with the schools to provide educational like workbooks and sheets for kiddos to do in the schools. We also go and talk to community service groups and kind of go there and educate on what our program consists of, what we have coming up, things of that nature. We've also gone in and talked to businesses about, you know, recycling programs, if they're able to do anything, things of that nature. So education is big. Obviously, with our name, Keep Columbus Beautiful, we are also huge in beautification.
Yeah.
And so, you know, we are working on the large-scale fundraising project for the highway reconstruction. That's going to be taking place soon.
On 23rd Street?
Yes,
Okay.
23rd Street.
Okay.
And so we're adding a lot of beautification elements to that, that part of town, just because it's such a large entryway, and it's really kind of the front door of our community, and it kind of shows off, you know, what Columbus is all about. And so we really think that there's a need to bring some beautification and some great aesthetics to that area. So we wrapped up fundraising for that. And then we also do large scale recycling events.
Okay.
Also like the electronics collection event where people can recycle like old computers, TVs, things of that nature.
Yeah. What about appliances? Do you guys do
appliances? We don't.
I always get questions for that because they're just so big and you don't know what to do with them.
Yeah.
I mean, I know a few people who will take them, but it's not that easy just to get rid of a big washer or dryer.
Right. And then we also do like scrap tire collection. So, farmers really take advantage of that and utilize that because, you know, I mean, tires are kind of expensive to get rid of too, as well.
And you don't know what to do with them. We have 2 huge tires at a property that we have. So I'll have to talk to you about that because I'm like, people are like, well, what are you going to do with them? I'm like, I don't know. Go flip them. I don't know. I have no idea. They're going to sit there for a while.
So we definitely have one of those coming up. You can hit me up after this for details.
Yes.
And then chemicals. A chemical clean out event for household hazardous waste. So anything really under the sink or in the garage that you have, insecticides, fertilizers, any pest killers, things like that.
Paint?
We do paints.
Okay.
So it's a day that you can bring in all those items to be recycled properly as well. So we do the beautification, the education, and recycling. And also litter prevention. You know, we talk a lot about litter prevention. It kind of goes hand in hand with recycling too. But it's definitely important to keep our community clean.
So what's the vision for 23rd Street? Just to beautify it. What are you guys hoping to do or planning to do?
Oh man, so we're adding lots of trees.
Really?
Over 200 trees.
Oh my gosh, I didn't realize that. Okay.
There's going to be some large planters throughout town. New lighting, like lighting for the streets. Decorative, like banners. Just a lot of unique things. Backlit traffic signs, colored concrete. That is all uniformed and matching throughout that entire area.
Who was the big part of the infrastructure for all of that?
Well, so the city is doing the whole highway reconstruction project, and we had approached them quite a while back when they were talking about getting this going, how we would really like to add some improvements to the area that aren't, you know, like ADA compliant. We wanted to add beautification aspects to it. And they were really on board, so they committed $500,000 towards the project, and we raised an additional $100,000 so that way we could make our effort go even further.
Yeah. Wow. So are you guys strictly nonprofit then?
We are, yes.
You are. So where does most of your funding come from?
So our funding mainly comes from the state Nebraska Department of Environment and Energy.
Oh, okay.
So we have to actually write grants, and it's competitive. But we've been fairly lucky and fortunate in the last couple of years that we have applied for a lot of the grants and received them. So
who does all the grant writing for you guys then?
That's me.
Really?
Yep.
Oh my gosh, I've sat through a couple of them, or not even sat through, just reviewed them. That's extensive.
It is pretty extensive.
Very extensive. You kind of got to get creative with your verbiage and just really, it's a lot. You have to have that.
You got to have an ability to tell your story.
Yes.
And you don't want the interviewer to have to ask you many questions because then it just kind of states that you didn't really explain yourself well enough in the project.
So do you actually have to sit in front of somebody as an interview?
No, but it goes through like a committee of several individuals, and so if they respond back to you via email
Yeah.
with like, oh, we have some questions about your grant, then it's like, well, you just obviously didn't explain yourself well enough.
Yeah. Wow, that's impressive. Well, that's amazing what you do. And then you were just awarded something with the chamber.
Yeah, I won Volunteer of the Year.
That's amazing. That is amazing. And then what else were you appointed here recently?
Oh, sure. So I was recently appointed to the Keep America Beautiful Board of Directors.
America. So what does that look like for you? Then what do you have to do? Do you go somewhere else to do stuff?
Well, yeah. So we are Keep Columbus Beautiful. We are a smaller affiliate of the state. So the state is Keep Nebraska Beautiful, but then they are a smaller affiliate of the national organization of Keep America Beautiful. So we're all kind of like, sisters in the middle.
Yeah.
But it was really exciting to be appointed to the board. I have to attend quarterly meetings, provide a lot of input, sit on some committees. But we haven't had someone from the Midwest be represented.
I can't imagine.
And we're such a small affiliate.
Yeah.
But when they had, approached me for the position, they actually said that, we may feel like the minority, but we're actually the majority, because a lot of the affiliates for the Keep America Beautiful organization are smaller communities. They're not the large metros. And so they wanted more representation and younger representation on their board.
Wow. How many board members do they have then?
They have about 20, 25, somewhere in there.
That's amazing, though. I mean, to be part of a large organization, especially for America, to be on the board and you're part of the Columbus one here in town. So that is amazing.
Yeah, it's a very unique experience, and I'm learning a lot along the way.
I bet. And you can just take whatever you learn and bring it here to Columbus too.
Definitely.
In any way, shape, or form. So, okay, so if somebody is interested in either, do you take donations from the community then?
We do, yes.
Okay, so if somebody wanted to donate, volunteer, I'm assuming you probably take volunteers?
Oh yeah, we use tons of volunteers all the time.
Anybody out there, right? So between volunteering, donations, or just really understanding and knowing what you guys have going on, where can they go to get in contact with you or keep Columbus beautiful?
I would say the best avenue would just be to hit up our website. So that is www.𝐒𝐊𝐷.com. So it's really Keep Columbus Beautiful Nebraska abbreviated.
Okay.
But yeah, all of our information's on the webpage. A lot of the local recycling options are on there, but it's also all of our contact info and how to reach out to us.
That's awesome. That's awesome. So what is something that you have heard that has helped you either personally or professionally in your career?
I would say that my favorite has been be the change that you wish to see in the world.
Ah, yes.
That one's
funny.
A classic.
It is. I love it. That's weird because I was thinking about that this morning, but keep going. Yes.
Yeah, so it's just Gandhi, and it's very powerful, but yet it's like every individual person can make a change. It all starts at home, and really, this is our community, and I'm just trying to do my little part in it to make it a better place.
Yeah, I think everybody thinks that, my one input or me personally is not going to do anything for this world, but it only starts with one.
Absolutely.
It only starts with you. And if you have that belief and that faith and that passion, you can do anything. So that's amazing. I love that. Love it. Yes, absolutely. So thank you so much, Vanessa, for being here. I appreciate you taking the time out of your day from planting trees. Is that right?
Well, we're just buying them right now and getting them loaded up.
Okay.
But yeah, we will definitely be planting some trees throughout town too.
Okay, cool. Awesome. Well, thank you so much for being here.
Yep. Thanks for having me.
Yep.